So you think that Israel has not done enough, or Israel and the US have not done enough to kind of essentially destroy Iran's nuclear capabilities?
They haven't destroyed anything at all. They've blown up some empty facilities. All of Iran's enriched uranium is secure and hidden in sites that we don't know where it is. The U.S. admits
Do you think Israel? Oh wow, really?
Well, the U.S. government has admitted we don't know where Iran's enriched uranium is. All of the centrifuges that Iran needs to step that up to nuclear weapons grade are secure in facilities we don't know anything about. Most of the technology that's sensitive and related to the conversion of uranium hexafluoride into a metal, which is required to make a bomb, is out of that facility, Isfahan facility that was bombed and safeguarded. All of the sensitive production equipment is safeguarded. It didn't get touched. It's all been evacuated. So all we blew up, Israel and the United States, are empty facilities or facilities with equipment that Iran doesn't view as a strategic. For instance, in Natanz, there's large numbers of centrifuge cascades, but these are the IR-1s, the old centrifuge that Iran's going to be replacing out anyways, our IR-2s. Iran doesn't care about them. Iran cares about the IR-6s and the IR-8s. Those have been evacuated. And so they haven't done anything to retard the Iranian program. This Israeli statement that we've pushed the Iranian program back 2 or 3 years is absurd in the extreme, because all Iran has to do is pour concrete, and their nuclear program is right back and running.
Wow. But do you think Israel, despite their intelligence capabilities that they proved on day one of the war, despite being able to, having essentially control over Tehran's airspace, they still wouldn't know where those trucks with the enriched uranium went to? Wouldn't it be easy kind of track those trucks and track their destination as well, be able to bomb that as well?
Nothing's easy in the intelligence business. It all requires a lot of hard work and people willing to put their lives on the line, especially with that kind of intelligence. But look, as somebody who spent many years tracking weapons of mass destruction programs that have been broken down into their little components and hidden, it's not as easy as you think. It's a lot of hard work, and it requires boots on the ground. Now, Israel has shown that it has a significant Mossad run intelligence network, so anything's possible. But I think the Iranians have got. If Israel knew where the enriched uranium was, they would have struck it already. They would have bombed it, I guarantee. So the fact that the enriched uranium continues to be safeguarded means Israel hasn't a clue. Now, that doesn't mean that Israel, through its intelligence, can't find out where it is. And I trust you, having worked with Israeli intelligence for 4 years, I can tell you that that's one of their number one priorities. But just because you want to collect something doesn't mean that you automatically get to collect it. And if Israel changes its strategic policy regarding Iran from no enrichment, which means you have to account for all of Iran's uranium hexafluoride, to limited enrichment, 3.75%, and the IAEA re-engages on those terms, then this enriched uranium in excess of 3.75% will be turned over and disposed of. And that's the best path out of here. The best path out of here is one based upon reason and logic that gives Iran its rights under Article 4 of the Nuclear Nonproliferation Treaty, as opposed to this artificial imposition of an Iran-only clause, which is an insult to Iran, makes no sense from a nonproliferation standpoint, and has gotten us to this point where we are today. Nations at war, and the potential of an expansion of the conflict that would destroy the global economy. Is it really worth it?
One more question I see here in the comments. Can Iran close the Strait of Hormuz only focusing on American and American ships and ships of American allies, European ships, or any Israeli ships as well?
I mean, anything's possible. There was a while where the Houthi in Yemen, Ansarallah, was allowing certain ships to go through the Bab el-Mandeb Straits and sinking other ships or attacking other ships. So in theory, this is possible. But then you're not achieving if Iran shuts the Strait of Hormuz, it's to create a energy crisis in the United States and Europe, to punish the people responsible for this situation. And so I mean, it is possible. It's complicated, and it would be difficult to do in a state of full scale conflict. I think if you're going to shut the Strait of Hormuz, it has to be a complete closure. Nothing gets through. But again, it's pure speculation. Anything's possible in war.
Yeah, because that would make more sense. That wouldn't hurt their ally China. That would benefit Russia because oil prices skyrocket, and that would hurt the US, inflation, hurt Europe because a lot of European oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz as well. Yeah, there are reports, by the way, according to the New York Times, that Qatar did inform the US of the attack in advance to minimize casualties, which is what we've discussed earlier, a tit-for-tat attack, more symbolic, and Iran does not want to escalate this into a regional conflict or a war with the US.
Let me just say something real quick about the Strait of Hormuz, if I might. Remember, conflict is a two-way street. If Iran closes the Strait of Hormuz and limits it to just allies of the United States isn't going to take that sitting down. And so there will be American military retaliation on the Iranian assets closing it, which means the Strait of Hormuz is a combat zone, and nobody's going to be going through that combat zone. Lloyd's of London will not allow any of its insured ships to be running through the Strait of Hormuz at a time when the United States is carrying out active military operations against the Iranians in that region. So I just wanted to throw that in there too. I just think it's a pipe dream to talk about limited closure because there will be an American response to reopen the strait.
Could this represent the end of U.S. involvement in this war? Is this it?
First of all, we have a president who is not programmed to run away or retreat. So if this was the end of the war, it's going to have to be couched. It's going to have to be a politicized end, meaning that the United States is going to have to be able to say that they accomplished something through their action. This president will not allow a scenario to evolve that says America got beat. And so, the answer is, we know Trump wants to disengage from the Middle East. We know this with absolute certainty because he has said so. His priority is the Pacific. His priority is China. And the last thing he needs right now is an open-ended conflict with Iran that requires hundreds of thousands of American troops to be committed to possible ground action in Iran. He doesn't need that. He doesn't want that. So I do believe that if this is handled properly, and it's going to require a lot of maturity on the part of everybody involved, and that's a very difficult thing to guarantee, that the United States could, in the aftermath of this, declare that it has achieved stability in the region. For instance, let's say we get a compromised nuclear deal out of Iran that caps at 3.75%, gets rid of 60% enriched uranium, has American inspectors participating in IAEA inspections. The president can say, we now can rest easy at night. There will never again be an Iranian nuclear program, a nuclear weapons program, and I get all the credit. See, as long as he can say, I get all the credit, I'm the greatest man in the world, my hands are bigger than you, then he will be able to withdraw from the region. But unless he can say that, if this comes out as he got beat or he got outfoxed, then unfortunately, I think this president stays committed to military involvement in the region.
Do you think strategically Iran could position it in a way that allows Trump to get credit for it, but at the expense of Israel? So they continue to strike Israel. They don't strike U.S. targets, which is what we're seeing right now. As soon as the U.S. struck the nuclear facilities, Iran immediately responded. They could have struck U.S. bases immediately. They're ready for it. They've done it before. But they immediately struck Israel. So it seems that Iran wants Israel to pay for this war. And they've been relatively understanding to America's involvement, which means there could be a path for Trump to declare some sort of victory with this.
I think so. I think, look, the Iranians are far more pragmatic and realistic than many people give them credit to. We sit here and talk about the Iranians as if they're a bunch of raving fanatics and death to America and all this stuff. First of all, it's a total misunderstanding of what death to America means. I mean, put yourself in the Iranian shoes, talk about 1953 and Mossadegh, talk about the Shah, talk about Savak, a CIA-trained secret police, talk about the records that the Iranians found when they took over the embassy, implicating the United States with Savak in the torture and murder of Iranians. And now you understand the genesis of death to America. But I've been to Iran. I was there during Ahmadinejad's regime, which was not known for its pro-American tendencies. And the Iranian people are warm, friendly. They don't hate Americans at all, just the opposite. They want to have good relations with the United States. If once you understand the reality of Iran, the sophistication of the Iranians, everything you just said is possible. These are very sophisticated players when it comes to geopolitics. They're very sharp and keen negotiators who are able to operate on a bunch of different levels at once so that they can achieve what they want to achieve, but give credit where, maybe they don't want to give credit, but they understand the political need to give credit to the United States. Look at how they negotiated. Look at the way that they responded. You remember the letter that Trump sent to Khamenei, and then Khamenei's response. And initially, everyone went, "Well, there goes negotiations." 6 rounds later, Ali Shamkhani is telling people we're ready to sign a treaty. Because remember, the Iranian argument about nuclear weapons was we have a fatwa. We have a fatwa, and therefore we can't have it. Well, nobody believes the fatwa anymore because the Iranians said it could be overturned in an instant. So the Iranians have come back and said, we're willing to sign a treaty, a binding treaty under international law, registered in the United Nations, a treaty that says we will forever, not have nuclear weapons. And there would be, in that treaty, there would be verification steps. No one saw that up there. The Iranians are willing to do that, willing to cap at 3.75%. Speaking of a multilateral uranium, fuel bank that allows them to use their excessive centrifuge. The Iranians are willing to do all of this, which shows the flexibility and the reality that they approach problem solving. So I'm fully confident that the Iranian government, if given the chance, because remember, they can't back down. We attack them, they have to respond. But if we can bring an end to this retaliatory cycle, the Iranians, I believe, are sophisticated enough to work with the United States and other nations in the region to come up with an acceptable deal that brings an end to this conflict. But a key aspect of that is Israel. Israel started this war with their surprise attack against Iran. And according to the Iranian calculations, Israel must never be allowed to think they can get away with that again. And so that's an important element of all this. How much longer the United States is willing to sit back and let Israel get pounded is another question. But I want to say this to your audience who are saying, well, isn't Iran being pounded? Why aren't the Iranians in danger of collapsing? They've been preparing for this very scenario for 20 plus years. 20 plus years, Iran has been preparing for just this. They are operating on a game plan that they have. They have 57 different military districts, each one of which has been equipped to fight independently of the other for 2 years. And this war just begun. So Iran's ready to ride this thing out. This is the journey to the apocalypse, if that's the direction the United States wants to take it. The Iranians, of course, don't want that end, but they're going to make Israel pay. I don't think Israel gets away from this, starting this war lightly. What the price is, of course, is negotiable. But I don't think the idea of let's just bring this thing to an end because Israel's upset, that doesn't fly anymore. Israel have to pay a price that's acceptable to the Iranians for carrying out the crime of launching a surprise attack against Iran that didn't just attack nuclear facilities, which is sort of a symbol of Iranian sovereignty, but it was also a decapitation strike against very senior leaders, beloved leaders of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Command. Could you imagine how Americans would feel if overnight we lost the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, we lost the Joint Chiefs of Staff, we lost major military commanders, we lost the director of the FBI, and then a week and a half later, people go, forget it. Yeah, let's just bring this thing to an end. You think the Americans would go, yeah, you're right. We're just going to forget about it. The damage done to Iran in terms of their sovereign interests and in terms of just the insult to Iran is incalculable.